Hello all, JStar360 here. In case you're wondering, hey Arnold vlogs, I'm working on them still, I haven't forgotten about them. But yesterday I was lucky enough to attend a screening of How to Train Your Dragon 3. In case you don't know, there was an early screening of it. If you just bought your tickets on Fandango, you could see the movie 2 weeks before it got a wide release. And being a huge fan of the first two, especially the second one, I thought was really good. I bought my ticket, went and saw it early, sat through no previews. There were no previews for this one. It's literally just the movie started. And I'm here to give you my thoughts. Now, I'm not going to get into spoilers in this video because I enjoyed this movie and I want you all to experience it. I will record a spoiler video right after this, but I'm not going to upload it until after the movie's been out for the weekend, just because, again, I want you guys to experience it, and I also just don't want to be responsible for arming everyone with spoilers. So if you don't know, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World takes place 1 year after the first one. Hiccup and his friends are continuing to rescue dragons, and it's becoming problematic for two reasons. One, there's only so much space on Berk, and the dragons take up quite a bit of it. And the other reason is that by freeing all these dragons from local dragon trappers, they're drawing a lot of attention to themselves. So Hiccup and his friends decide we should probably do something about this because, yeah, we're gonna get screwed. And then Hiccup remembers, hey, my dad mentioned this hidden world, this special world where all the dragons lived, that's hidden away from the world. So they all set off looking for it. And along the way, they meet a light fury, which is basically Toothless but white and female. And Toothless falls in love with her, and that leads to probably some of the cutest stuff in the movie. This film is gorgeous to look at. It is, without a doubt, probably the best looking How to Train Your Dragon film. There's some really cool new dragons in this film, some of which belong to the villain, and one of which belongs to the hero. There's this new dragon armor our character's wearing. It looks so sick. And the action, it's nothing spectacular, but it is still very well choreographed, very well shot. There's a really cool long take sequence early in the film. That's just, again, it's just cool to watch. John Powell does a fantastic job with the score, as always, and there's a lot of great quiet moments in the film where you really get to hear that score. Like there's a scene early on when Toothless first meets the Light Fury that's very beautiful. There's a really hilarious scene later where Toothless is trying to woo over the Light Fury. If you've seen the trailers, you've only seen a fraction of it. It's a very wonderful sequence, probably the best no dialogue sequence in the series since the forbidden friendship scene in the first movie where Hiccup's just trying to bond with Toothless, and we get the iconic, yeah, that shot. The other thing I really enjoyed in this film was the ending. If you don't know, this is the final film in the series, and it does a very nice job wrapping things up. It's not a very surprising ending. If you're paying attention, you can pretty much figure out where it's going, and however you think it's going to end, that's probably how it's going to end. So, again, nothing too surprising, but I loved it anyway because it felt like this is how the series should end. This is the best way you could end the series, and I don't want to get too into the ending because it's such a fantastic ending. I want y'all to experience it, but I'll be doing a separate video where I talk about the ending. And that's all the things I really dug in this film. Then there's a fair amount of this stuff in this film that didn't work. For one, I felt this film was a little too tell, don't tell instead of show, where characters will spend a lot of time explaining the morals of the film to each other. And on one end, I get it. It is a kid's movie. It is a film meant for children who might need the morals explained to them. But I think of the first film and how it did a really good job kind of being very subtle with what it was trying to get across. Like there were a couple talky moments, but it for the most part would just kind of trust that you get what's going on. Whereas this one I felt they kind of talked. There was a lot of just talking. All the characters returned, even those from the second movie, and I felt like the characters that returned from the second movie, Erit and Valka, I think her name is, they're there and they have lines, but they just kind of feel there. Like they don't really add much to the story. My other issue would be the villain. He is perfectly fine, perfectly serviceable. He's actually a bit better than I expected. He's another guy trying to hunt down dragons, but they make him kind of smart. Like he's sort of like Grand Admiral Thrawn, where he's always like kind of 5 steps ahead of the other characters. Not quite on the level of Thrawn, but I appreciate what they were going for. And it is understandable because I tried to find this source, but I couldn't. But there was an interview many years back for the second movie where Dean talked about how originally Valka was going to be the villain in the second movie and Drago would be the villain in the third movie, but DreamWorks didn't like the idea of Hiccup's mom being the villain, so they had to redo the film, make Drago the villain in the second one. So yeah, and this film probably would have worked a lot better if Drago was the villain, because after him, this villain just kind of feels like a lower tier villain. Like he's effective, he's intimidating, but compared to Drago's Dragon Army, compared to the horrible things he does, this guy, I mean, he does some horrible things, don't get me wrong, but they're nowhere near as horrible as Drago. And like the other two Dragon films, there's a point when Hiccup hits his low point where he's just given up, kind of. But compared to the previous films, whereas the first one, Stoic kind of disavows him and says, "You're not my son." Then the second movie, Stoic's dead. Like the thing that's weighing Hiccup down in this movie, I didn't feel like it's understandably something that would bring him down, but compared to what he's gone through in the previous films, this didn't feel as dire or urgent. And there were a couple of moments in the film where it just kind of felt like, really, we're doing this again? Another reason I felt this film was a little weak compared to the other two was the tone. This film is nowhere near as dark as the second one, which if you're one of those people that found the second one a little hard to watch because of that, you'll probably enjoy this one a bit better. But for me, it just made this one feel, again, just a little underwhelmed because it's like, I don't know, it's like you go from this really dark film to this pretty cutesy film. And it's a film I thought was enjoyable, but at the same time, I did kind of miss that grit, that raw emotion of the third film, and not the third film, the second film. But they do make up for it in the ending, which just, again, it's an ending that I feel is going to satisfy fans of the series. Like if you're one of those people that's been with the franchise since the beginning, loves these characters to death, the ending's just gonna floor you. It's just gonna hit you in the feels, and you're just gonna be like I was smiling at the end. I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's ending. And again, I'll have a separate video discussing the ending. So overall, I enjoyed the film. It's, again, hands down the weakest of the trilogy. And if this were just another How to Train Your Dragon movie, I'd say whatever, you can wait on it. But because it's the last one, because they do such a good job wrapping it up, finishing strong, I feel it's worth seeing and experiencing the end of this story. So I hope you guys enjoy the movie and feel free to share what you think. And if you attended the early screening of How to Train Your Dragon free, feel free to share your thoughts, although please keep your comments spoiler free. Don't ruin it for people who haven't seen it yet. And I'll see you guys later. This is JStars360, flying out.